Hujambo mpenzi msikilizaji, welcome to another edition of the weekend preview. My name is Mark Nyanjui, and of course I'm not alone. I am joined by two esteemed guests. This is another edition of F1 Talk. We had one F1 Talk around 2-3 months ago. You can find the link on our Facebook page, that's the Touchline Maniacs, for the full stream, and also a bit of it appeared as well on our YouTube channel. You can also access that video on our Touchline Maniacs YouTube channel. So I'm going to welcome my guests. Nitawa introduce hapa mdogo mdogo. So tutaanza na Stano hapa, who is a massive Red Bull fan. Stano, how does it feel post Azerbaijan GP venye mlibeba tu zote mbili 1-2 kwa podium?
Actually, I expected that. After qualification, you see what happened. In Q3, actually, the thing that I knew that we took this win we'll take this win to Baku was the reason that Verstappen has been full of excuses after Q3. He says that maybe the track temperatures weren't suitable for me. I didn't have a good balancing with the ride and everything. But this time round in Q3, Verstappen said, it's okay. We'll start from P3. I'm okay with that. It's a good result. We saw that coming because he felt confident that actually they'll have a double podium finish. So I feel actually great,
And as well, tuko joined hapa na Bilos as well, who is a massive Mercedes fan. Na Mercedes, of course, wamekuwa na issues zao hii season mdogo mdogo. So Bilos, for me Mercedes hii season ni gani na what should happen next?
Well, Mercedes is struggling. Everybody is seeing that, and I think the issue is the performance of the car. So the height, the stability, the floor plan, they ought to get that right so that they can start chasing the championship. Yeah,
definitely. So these are all things we are going to be discussing in detail, but first of all, I'd like to let you, the listener, know the outcome of the Baku GP that happened this past weekend. So Verstappen and Perez occupied the first and second positions. Of course, that meant that was a straight swoop for Red Bull. George Russell finished in third. He drives for Mercedes, followed by Lewis Hamilton on fourth. Pierre Gasly finished fifth. Sebastian Vettel, who usually does well in Baku, finished sixth. He's driving Aston Martin. Fernando Alonso was seventh for Team Alpine. Daniel Ricciardo finished eighth. He drives for McLaren, and Lando Norris as well finished ninth. In 10th was Esteban Ocon. 11th was Valtteri Bottas, who drives Alfa Romeo. 12th was Albert Albon. 13th was Tsunoda, the Japanese driver who drives for Alfa Tauri. Mick Schumacher was 14th. He drives for Haas. Nicolas Latifi was 15th. He drives for Williams. Lance Stroll was 16th. Drives for Aston Martin. Kevin Magnussen was 17th. He drives for Haas. Zhu was 18th. He drives for Alfa Romeo, and it wasn't a good weekend for Ferrari, who were DNF'd this weekend. Both the drivers, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz, were both DNF'd because there are massive issues here and there with regards to reliability and strategy issues, which we'll be discussing in detail. So Stano, I'd like to start with you before we get to Red Bull, which is your team. What exactly is Ferrari's problem exactly, and given it's a long season ahead, what exactly can they do? Because we all know that they have a powerful engine. They probably have the best vehicle on the grid, arguably, but unfortunately they have strategy issues that tend to be their biggest Achilles heel. And I was discussing with Bilos off camera, and he was telling me that they have reliability issues. So what's your opinion on Team Ferrari?
Actually, Kenya, like you said before, at the start of the season, we've seen that they have had like the best engine, right? So the engine actually, it's almost like 4 kilowatts more powerful than Red Bull, 8 kilowatts more powerful than Mercedes, and 12 kilowatts more than the rest of the midfield teams. But then the problem right now with Ferrari, you saw Sainz retiring with the hydraulic issue, and Charles Leclerc, you saw with the engine failure.
Yes.
So what the Ferrari team said, actually, they can't recover what's left of Leclerc's car. They need to have a new power unit. Yes, in the next coming race, which is in Canada. The circuit Villeneuve. I think it's that. Yes. So what they need to do is have a new power unit, and with that they'll have penalties. Yes. So if it's only turbo they're changing, obviously it's going to be a 10-place grid penalty. But if it's the entire unit they're changing, we'll see him start at the back of the grid, which is very disadvantageous. The fact that Canada is a very high-speed circuit, you know that it's a very high-speed circuit with low downforce. So one thing I saw through the remaining GPs, let's say the next 3 GPs, I think they're tailor-made for Red Bull. Yes, Canada, it's a high-speed circuit. The next, I think they're going to Silverstone, high-speed circuit too. The next, Austria, Spielberg, it's also a high-speed circuit. So France too, Paul Ricard circuit, I think it's also a high-speed circuit. So it's going to be an easy, an easy stride for Red Bull, you know. So Ferrari really have to work on their power unit and maybe think the next 4 races where will be right now, because right now I see Red Bull maintaining the lead for the next 4 or 5 races from now.
And do you feel like you were speaking about how Max Verstappen was complaining about the temperatures in Baku not being suitable for Red Bull's engine. Do you feel like the temperature sort of like affected their engine this weekend? Because we saw, Ferrari's power unit blow up, especially with regards to Leclerc's car. So do you feel like temperatures were a problem, or what do you think the problem really was?
Like I said, Kenya, actually the thing that I said was that we've seen in the previous quali sessions, we've seen like Verstappen complaining about him not even having enough grip on the corners, track temperatures, things like that. But in this Q3, we saw him say that okay, I'm starting from P3 tomorrow. It's okay. We'll get the most out of that. So he was very comfortable. He's cool with that. But this weekend, it cut across all the teams. I saw, the rest day on Sunday, it cut across all drivers, with the track temperatures, they need to manage their tires, which you saw like someone like Leclerc did. Even after the virtual safety car, we could have seen him maintain the lead. He could have like, let's say, had the win, Yes, when they had the free stop at the virtual safety car, they could have gone for the win, because they had a more advantageous strategy. After pitting the virtual safety car, he could push with the hard compound, and later on, if there was a virtual safety car later on towards the end of the race, that will be a win for him. Yes, but so with the track temperature, I think that it cut across all teams. Yes.
Yeah, definitely 100%. And moving on to Team Mercedes, Billows, you're a massive Mercedes fan. Mercedes have been having their problems here and there. We've discussed, or I was telling you off camera about how their engine and their aerodynamics, in my opinion, I don't think they've been compatible, and maybe that's why it sort of like affected them in a way. But you were telling me about how they've decided to experiment things this season. Maybe things might change over the summer, after the summer break, and they might make a turnaround and whatnot. But what do you think is Mercedes' biggest problem, and how can they sort of like re-establish their dominance, given they've been dominant for 8 of the last 9 years?
So I think their problem is porpoising. The car is bouncing a lot. So they need to get the car stable. They will do that. The height of the car, the rear wings, and the floor plan. So if they get that, maybe what a bounce back. It's disappointing. Unakaa hivi, unasleki, unakaa hivi, and they as in okay, wanna wanajaribu to get the best out of the car. Yes, they are trying, but it's tricky. It's annoying actually. It's very, very annoying. It's disappointing.
Okay, so Billows, actually I love to agree with him actually for what he said. I love to add a bit, what he's saying actually, the purposing. I noticed something with the Mercedes. One thing that you notice, they have what do you call them? Narrow side pods. Yes. So much of the air is directed towards the flooring of the car. Yes, so it's much of the air, especially in the high speed circuits with the low downforce, it's creating some sort of flex that's actually causing the porpoising, seeing it bounce and everything, causing the bottoming. You've seen Russell complaining about the bottoming, actually. Him not having to, let's say on the corners, him not having a clear breaking point on the corners. Yes, whereby Russell said that in the next few races in the high speed circuits we'll have a really nasty accident because he's complaining of blurred vision and he can't really see the corners with us with the Mercedes running low. Yes, especially with the Hamilton case, you've seen too him complaining with the backache. But hopefully he'll get to race in Canada. There'll be no replacement for him.
And why, Billows, are they Mercedes taking a gamble by deciding to let the experienced driver, okay, of course it's understandable, be the sort of like driver that is sort of like studying the car, while the new kid on the block, that is George Russell, is the one who's sort of like become the de facto number one, even though he's still not the number one. But why exactly have they decided to revert to those sort of like how do I put it? Why have they decided to do that as Team Mercedes?
Hamilton has a lot of experience with Mercedes, the Mercedes car. So he'll be able to give the data and the engineers a lot of data in how to go about the issues with the car, how to deal with the issues with the car. So that's why they are giving him the tryout car. Like he's like for now he's like the driver number 2 who tries out the new strategy, the new parts of the car. So if they get it right, they will most of the credibility will go to Hamilton. So he will have
and as well, Team Red Bull have been sort of like enjoying themselves recently. Like I said before, they finished first and second. Max finished first and Sergio Perez finished second. So for Red Bull, we know that the conditions of both their cars are pretty even, and they sort of like Billows was telling me about how they poached an engineer from Mercedes to come to Red Bull, and since then they've been going from strength to strength. As a Red Bull fan, expound how strong they are in detail.
Actually, he's right about one thing. Last season, yes, we got some of the technical support team from Mercedes, with us offering them a better deal, in terms of the salary, the allowances, and everything. Yes, so right now you've seen how much speed you have on the straight line speed, thanks to them, and as compared to right now, I think we're at a much better position. We have sorted off our reliability issues. We are sorted off our weight issues right now. With Mercedes obviously complaining with them having they want the rules, FIA to change a bit the rules, to include them, for them to have a better car, for all the teams to have the porpoising issues done away with. But you can't really do that, the FIA can't compromise because we've seen this, it's only a Mercedes problem, Ferrari had a bit of problem with porpoising, let's say up to until Spain or a bit, but it wasn't that immense as compared to right now. Mercedes too had the same problem with porpoising. They thought they solved the issue in Spain, but now it's recurring, even worse than before. So I think with Red Bull, it's going to be a really nice cruise for us, for the next 4 races. Max right now, he has, I think, a 34-point lead to Leclerc. I think he has 150, Leclerc as well, 116. Yes. So the gap to us from Ferrari to Red Bull, we're going to see it increase for the next 5 to 6 races. But the gap between Mercedes to Ferrari, we'll see decrease. We'll see Mercedes catch up to Ferrari. That's a thing for sure. Yes.
So what you're basically saying is Red Bull are a team that are going to sort of establish their dominance this season. Exactly. But then again, don't you feel like it's going to be an up-down season, considering that even the supposed second drivers are actually giving the main drivers a run for their money? Exactly. Because we've seen it happen with Red Bull. We are seeing it happen right now with Mercedes, although with Mercedes they've sort of arranged for that, and we're also seeing it with Red Bull as well, where Checo is actually giving Verstappen a run for their money. So don't you feel, starting with you, Bilos, that it's going to be an up-down season and no one is really going to, establish his dominance like we saw last season with Max, until it reached a point where Ham sort of like caught up with him, and then Max, albeit under controversial circumstances, lifted it on the last day?
Checo. Okay, the strategies in Red Bull, they somehow favor the Max. It's their golden boy, but Checo is doing well. He has adapted to the car, so he's making use of that second car, like the pace. He's competing with Max, like totally.
Yeah.
We saw him in Monaco, so this season, I think if Max doesn't watch out and makes like those mistakes then Checo will definitely have catch up with him, or maybe they will be at par. Yeah, no, they will be at par with one reading. Then there won't be that much of a big gap unless the issues arise. So Red Bull will have. I think this is their season somehow, but let's wait and see.
Yeah.
So I think what he's talking about really, you've seen what will happen, like, after the confidence boost with Checo, after he won the leave alone this Baku GP, the previous one in Monaco, after he won that, he had a bit of confidence boost, he feels more comfortable with the car. One thing that I'd like to say, what he mentioned about like Max being the golden boy, that's a fact, Ever since back in the days, like Vettel, when he was at Red Bull, he was like Honda's favorite, He was like Honda's favorite. So that is the same thing you're seeing right now. Honda's favorite at that moment, Vettel right now, Honda's favorite, Max. Exactly, yes. So which makes me think the last race, in Baku, there was a bit of an issue, Red Bull had a bit of miscommunication when they said during the virtual safety car period, they said there was a bit of miscommunication. They wanted to send Checo in, but if they could have sent him in, he had the free stop, he could have maintained the lead and possibly even won the race. Yes, so I think there was a bit of an issue there. I think that's why even Checo, after the post race interview, he said we'll have to talk to them and see what went wrong. I think he knew. I think he knew what went wrong. Yes.
They actually held him for 5 pit. He went for a pit stop. They held him for 5 seconds. Like they were waiting for him to stay there, and then Max can increase the distance. I don't know. We saw that happening. So they maybe. In Canada, Montreal, maybe we'll see some changes, or maybe they will have cleared the air and given a go ahead on the strategy and all who will be leading and all that. Yeah.
So moving on into the midfield, I've kind of like noticed, especially even last season, that Pierre Gasly has been pushing AlphaTauri to its limits. He has been pushing it to its limits, and in a way, he's sort of like, much as he flattered to deceive when he was at Red Bull, and we know how Red Bull can be unforgiving because they tend not to give drivers time, because if you can't live up to expectations, you leave. That's the same thing that kind of like happened with Alex Albon as well. Sorry. How has Gasly matured as a driver ever since he was relegated back to driving for AlphaTauri?
I think Gasly is comfortable with AlphaTauri. He's very he knows the car. At Red Bull there was pressure. You have to do this. You have to be there for other cars and all that. So he in AlphaTauri, it's like he's the main driver. So taking him from there, it's like taking him from his comfortable zone. Though he's a very, very good driver actually. I would love to see him in a car that's there in the Red Bull or Mercedes or maybe the Ferraris. He'll give a performance, but maybe a little not so much pressure, not so much expectation from him, and maybe give him a full season. He gets comfortable with the car, then we see what happens with him. He's a good driver. Yeah.
And as a Red Bull fan, Stano, we've sort of like noticed this trend where when drivers tend to, when drivers leave Red Bull, they leave Red Bull assuming they're going on to bigger, better things, but turns out that never happens to be the case. We've seen it with Vettel, a 4-time world champion, who's now probably, I think he's now at a stage in his career where he's just having fun. He's not competitive anymore. And as well, we've also seen it with Daniel Ricciardo, who much as he's a fast driver and he has 30 podiums under his belt, he's never really become a threat in terms of like potentially being a world champion. So what exactly is the problem, starting with Ricciardo and then moving on to Vettel as well?
I think the problem with these drivers is that when they move on to the other teams, there used to be some chemistry existing in that team, So when they move to that team, they sort of distort the chemistry, and something doesn't work really. Something doesn't really work out for them. Yes. So I think that's just the area, them feeling comfortable at home, but then moving on to other teams, whereby it creates that sort of, what do you call them?
Yeah.
Just sort of disturbance. But then it doesn't work for all drivers, You've seen like you've said like Gasly moving on to like Alpha Tauri. He has a better handling of the car right there. He feels much comfortable in it. Like the same way like Russell, same with Russell, We saw him like in Williams. He was feeling comfortable with the Williams, bringing a team that was competing with us down there into the midfield pact. Whereby we saw that happening, but right now there's a bit of issues and here and there. So I think that's just F1, Things happen. Just like Mark said in the last Grand Prix, during the post-interview, shit happens. Yes.
I think the problem with the Red Bull drivers, they used to a car where the strategies work, the car is good and reliable, So when they shift, it becomes a problem. Getting used. So like take a case in Ricciardo. Ricciardo went to McLaren fighting.
Renault. I think he went to Renault.
Renault, then McLaren. Then he fights Norris. Norris is like, okay, he's their good.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was our second ever F1 talk. Like I said earlier, the first F1 talk we did was via radio and it was streamed on our Facebook page, that is the Touchline Maniacs. This video will be appearing on our YouTube channel, that's the Touchline Maniacs, as well as More University TV or MUTV. So you can go to YouTube, like, share and subscribe, and you will be helping us all and helping us grow as well. I've been your host, Maki Nyanjui, and I think we will have another F1 talk after the Canadian Grand Prix, which will be happening next weekend. But this weekend. This weekend.
Back to back.
Yeah, definitely. Your predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix. By the way, let's start with that.
Yeah, Canadian Grand Prix, obviously Leclerc. We'll start at the back. we'll take that great penalty. So my predictions is for Verstappen, Checo, Russell. Yes, top three.
Verstappen, Checo, Russell. And for you?
Why do I feel you are stolen my moment? Okay, that seems like the lineup. But if Sainz doesn't have an issue, we'll place him above. Okay, he'll be at that podium, so it will be
above Russell.
But he's in a faster car, so it'll be maybe Verstappen, Sainz, then Perez, Checo. So
definitely. For me, I think I'm going to have to go for Verstappen. I was about to say Sainz because his car doesn't have the issues that Leclerc's had, and the fact that their car is fast means that they can easily catch up. We've seen it before, especially with Mercedes last season, where someone like Hamilton was starting at P10 and then ended up winning that race exactly. So those are our predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix. Until we meet next time, have a lovely weekend.